Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He was the middle child of Martin King Sr. and Alberta Williams King. Martin had an older sister named Willie Christine and a younger brother named Alfred Daniel Williams King. Martin's father fought against racial prejudice. It wasn't because his race suffered from it, but because he thought it was something against God's will. His father was very strict and a disciplinarian, while his mother was more gentle towards young Martin. Even though his parents tried, they couldn't protect him from racism. He didn't want his children to be discouraged by any race that was considered superior, and that left a lasting effect on Martin. Martin was considered to be a bright student and always did well when it came to his studies. He often rebelled against his father, often drinking beer and playing pool while he was in college. Although his father was very involved in church, Martin often questioned his religion. He was against his religion and didn't want to enter in his father's ministry. It was until junior year he took a Bible class and renewed his religion and decided to enter in his father's ministry. Where Martin was getting his doctrine, he met Coretta Scott, and they were married in June 1953 and had 4 children. Martin then became the pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church of Montgomery, Alabama. He was always a strong worker for civil rights for his people. He was a member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. In December 1955, he accepted the leadership of the Great Black Nonviolent Demonstration of Contemporary Times in the United States, the bus boycott. The bus boycott was a political and social protest against racial segregation on the public transit system of Montgomery, Alabama. The boycott lasted 382 days and it resulted in a win, as the Supreme Court declared that it was unconstitutional. But during the march, Martin had become the subject of abuse. His house was bombed and was arrested. In 1957, he was elected the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which was an organization to provide leadership for the civil rights movement.
Picked us up from school and asked me, well, what's wrong? And I said, well, the kid said, Daddy's a jailbird. And she explained to me why he was going to jail, that he was really going to jail to make this world a better place for all of God's children. Well, the next day I came back to school with almost a new attitude, being proud of what my father was doing.
He took inspiration from Gandhi and mixed his teachings with Christian principles. In an 11-year period, he traveled over 6 million miles to protest and stand up against discrimination against those years. He wrote 5 books as well. He then planned the peaceful march called the March on Washington, where he delivered his famous speech titled, I Have a Dream speech.
That one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
250,000 people showed up, and Martin campaigned for President Lyndon B. Johnson at the time. He was arrested 27 times and assaulted 4 times. He was named Man of the Year by Time magazine in 1963. He won the Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 35, making him the youngest person to ever win the award. He would later donate the prize money to further civil rights movement. On April 4th, 1968, he was shot and killed in front of his hotel room.
Next day, my mother had to find a way to explain to me that your father, when you see him, he's going to be in a casket and he won't be able to talk with you.
Martin's influence on America was very huge. His influence on race relations was very big, and after his death, he was known as the most known African American leader of his era. His influence was so big that many people started naming buildings and schools after him. He was even honored with a memorial and a statue in Washington, D.C. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a law creating a holiday known as the Martin Luther King Day, which was a federal holiday honoring his contribution and legacy. The holiday was celebrated in 1986, and then by the year 2000, it was celebrated in all 50 states. Martin will always be remembered and honored for his contributions and willing to fight for equality and rights.